It's 4 o'clock. Welcome, everybody. My name is Jeremy Henniger. I am the Director of Statewide Assessment. Before I kick it over to Iris, I just thought I would offer, if anybody has any questions, we sent out a couple of emails last week, one particular about ACT ISR's individual student reports for this year. And I thought I'd see if there was any questions that we could answer about that before Iris gets started with the MyACT stuff for today. You can come off mute if you have a question or type that into the chat. If anybody has any questions, needs any clarification on those ISRs for ACT. Wait time is so different in Zoom than it is in the classroom, right? Not that anybody, knows that from this year or anything, it's done. Anyway, if you have any questions, let us know. I have to drop off a little bit early to go to another meeting today, but Iris and others will be around to answer questions as we go forward. One thing that I just put out there about MyACT, I think this is a good change, right? So the MyACT system put together by ACT, it really does solve some problems around students getting access to multiple scores. It maybe isn't the best timing. I'm not sure that anything new in 2020, 2021 is the best timing, because anything new is just that much more overwhelming in the world that we already live in. But in the long run, I think this is a positive change for ACT, and that it will help a number of different issues that have been going on. It might create some other issues or those types of things, but in the long run, I think it's going to be a very positive change. And I think Iris should be able to walk you through this and show you that how the system works and how your students are going to be able to set up their accounts. So without further ado, Iris, why don't you go ahead and take over, and I'm sure you'll be able to answer whatever questions come this way.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Jeremy. I'm so glad that you all joined us. Welcome to the MyACT Workshop for Nebraska State Testing. As Jeremy said, I'm Iris Owens, and most of you know me. I'm the ACT liaison with the Nebraska Department of Education. I've been doing that for 3.5 years now. There are a couple of housekeeping notes that I'd like to take care of before we begin. This workshop will be recorded, and one of the recordings will be posted on the NDE, the Department of Education, and NSCAS ACT webs page, as well as this PowerPoint, which has quite a few resources for you, and I think will be helpful for you when you have situations that you might need answers for. So I'm going to ask you to please provide your questions in the chat. I'm going to proceed with the presentation, and then once I'm finished with that, I'll answer the questions at the end of the presentation. I do want to thank you for taking time out of your very busy schedules, and I want to thank you for all you do for your students and helping them take the ACT for their future. So in saying that, let's try and figure out the ins and outs of the new system of the MyACT. MyACT was created to provide a place for students and parents to register for the test and to easily access ACT score reports. In the past, ACT has had some difficulties with national scores and state scores being in separate accounts and having to merge them. This was not optimal for our test and examinees, and so ACT decided to create this system that we call MyACT. Whoops, sorry about that. Scrolled on the wrong thing there. I want to be sure to provide you with all the information and the resources to assist your students in creating those accounts. As you can see in this screenshot, MyACT is a new system, and it replaces the previous national registration system that you had to do online, and joins forces with the state tests scores as well. Information from ACT will be sent with your state test, non-test materials in the next few weeks if you haven't already received those materials. I'm going to cover the materials that will be sent to you a little bit later in this presentation and some other important resources for your convenience. And I'll have that all available in this PowerPoint. The steps to creating an account in MyACT are really rather straightforward. If you log into myact.org, you would select continue. It gives you that welcome sign, and then you just select continue. And then if any of your students had registered for the national test in the previous system, in the old system, and had not created an account in MyACT, they will need to select the I'm new button and create a new account. But if they have registered in MyACT for a test or created an account because they heard about this new program, this new system, they will need to select the I registered or tested before button. When creating the account, either an email address or a phone number is necessary for the system to verify, to do a verification. These questions in the MyACT will be optional, other than the demographic information, their address and name, date of birth, a few things like that. The general information will provide access to, the general information will provide access to test scores and an opportunity to request any additional score reports other than the 4 free ones that we give them. They can order 2 more if they wish online. And then after the score reports, they can order as many as they choose to. The questions will cover things like student demographics, high school coursework, grades, and then they can complete the interest inventory that will assist students to future college and career paths, as well as provide information for ACT for research and future tests. Once the account is created, the student code on the student non-test instructions, that will come with your non-test materials. It will be entered in the enter student code box. And there, after you process that, after you've created the account, you log into the account, and that's where that box will pop up. You will get 4 sections to complete. As I said before, the demographic information is the only section that is required. So you'll go through the demographic, the interest inventory, your high school information, and then you'll get to the college score reports towards the end. I wanted to share with you a visual of what the new answer document's going to look like. It will not include anywhere where you can complete the interest inventory or college codes. Each student will need to, if they have a barcode or not, fill out these blocks A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Those are mandatory. And then there's also the block K that we have used in the past for high school codes. Say your student is testing at an external program or maybe an off-site location, then they would use the block K for the ACT high school code. And you can complete that only if necessary. So here is a screenshot of what we call information, a report that you can find out if a student has created an account or not. The student code usage status report is very helpful. So that is a mouthful to say. I just want you to know. I practiced that a lot so that I didn't trip over that one. This report is located in your Pearson Access Next account in both the school and your district accounts. You would be able to locate that under reports, under published reports. So here's a screenshot. I asked Omaha the public schools if I could use a screenshot of what their district would look like and all the reports that they could pull up with that student code usage status. I just wanted to give you an idea of what it should look like. Maybe your school only has 1 high school, that's great. And then you would just be able to click on the student code usage, that blue title, and it will download the report for you. And I just wanted to shout out to OPS to thank them to let me do that. So student code use reports are generated during the day, and then they're posted when available. This report is not dynamic, and it may not show the latest updates made by students until the next report is posted. If a student has entered their student code and selected at least one college choice, they will no longer appear on the report. The student code usage status report will include the following: student's name, their student code, has the student entered their student code, yes or no, and then has the student entered their college choice, yes or no. To get a yes on that last question, has a student entered their college choice, they only have to choose one college for that to create a yes in that column. So that's important to know. If you need to find a student code, if you have a new student or newly enrolled student, you may need to look up their student code, or if they're having issues with the code when they're entering into their account, you may need to check that. You can find that in the Pearson Access Next system, and you would go under Setup and under Students. You select the students, and then that student screen pops up, and you can either find them alphabetically, or you can do a search for them in the Find Students search bar. The 9-digit code that you're looking for is located to the left of the last name on your student list. If you have a large group of students that don't have have the code yet, you can use the PDF on the ACT sponsored website called the MyACT Student Code Find and Merge. It has a step-by-step instruction on how to create a file with the student codes that you would need, and you'll be able to print those non-test instruction sheets for students and for each student that may need them. This PDF, it also includes the mail merge template link for your convenience. It's pretty slick. When you visit the ACT sponsored website, sorry about that, you will see resources for you and your testing staff to prepare for the test and to assist with the non-test activities. Most of this information is for you and your staff, but I do highly recommend the video, MyACT, How to Use Your Student Code and for State and District Testing. The link to this 5-minute video is a great overview on how to create an account and how to use a student code for the student's state test so that those are connected to their account. Several of the non-test information documents should be headed to your school. As I said, either they've already arrived or they're coming in the next few weeks. Let's take a look at what you'll be receiving. You'll be receiving taking the ACT test booklet, and each student should be given a copy of that. This booklet covers information about the ACT, what's included in the non-test portion of the MyACT account, and great test day information. So if you're curious to know what MyACT is going to ask your students, this little booklet will cover all of that information and much more. This form is a blank version of what each student will be receiving as a non-test instruction for student sheet. If the student was enrolled in your school in the student list in Pearson Access Next before February 5th deadline, they will have a sheet with all of the information pre-populated in the top right corner. If your students arrive after that date, you can locate a blank version of this form at the ACT Nebraska website, and you can either, for just one individual, make a copy of that and fill in the information, or if you have multiples, you can use that mail merge version. You and your staff will need to fill out that information exactly as it is in Pearson Access Next. And especially the last name, that seems to be an issue with some students. It needs to be exactly as it is in Pearson Access Next. If that's incorrect, then you can go into Pearson Access Next and update that information, and then the student should be able to use their student code. Test coordinators will also receive a 4-page instruction sheet For assisting students with the non-test information, there's a link on the ACT sponsored website to this PDF. If you choose to print out additional ones, additional sheets for your supervisors, room supervisors, or any other staff who'll be working with the students, they might have questions on the day of the test. Please don't hesitate to review this with your staff. Okay, here is my great big list of MyACT resources. It's only 2 links, but if you look at it, if we look back at the screen, all of the links to these great PDFs and forms, MyACT troubleshooting guide, that'll be really helpful, is at the ACT sponsored Nebraska state testing website. And so I have the link for that. You'd need to scroll down to section 4, which is called participation. And then you'll be able to see all of these. And here at the bottom is that great how to use your student, the video, how to use your student code for state and district testing. Also, please don't hesitate to look at our Nebraska Department of Education website, where we have a NSCAS ACT webpage. It's a great resource for links to previous webinars and parental consent forms. It also has information on the other ACT products and a schedule of events for our test. I'm going to give a shout out for the amazing staff at ACT, a couple people on the call on this webinar today. ACT determined that we needed to give more opportunity for you to get your questions answered. And one of our solutions was to provide global office hours. And this link gives you a calendar of registration links to an opportunity to ask questions of ACT staff. So that it's Monday mornings at 10 and Thursday afternoons at 4 Central Time. So if you're interested, you want to hear about some information that ACT is providing in regards to state testing, or you have a question about state or district testing, this is a great opportunity. And just click on the link and register for a time that works for you. As always, don't hesitate to ask questions. This is my email address and my new phone number. I also put on here the ACT state and district phone number and a couple of email addresses that might be useful for you. I'm so grateful for all your patience in this year. It's been tough for all of us, and really appreciate you being patient with me getting back to you on things. And in amidst all of this stuff, we've had so many changes at ACT, and you've just been troopers. And I just really wanted to let you know how much I appreciate that. So with that, I am gonna see if I can find, I'm gonna stop, okay. I'm gonna stop sharing here. And as I wanted to make note, that PowerPoint will be available on the NDE website today. So I'm gonna go to the chat and try and answer some questions, okay? Oh, and Stacy, thank you for she put in the link to the ACT website page on at the Department of Ed. Thank you. So when you say enter student code on our materials to do interest survey, is that the 9-digit code? Yes, that is correct, Diane. That's that code, that 9-digit code before their last name in PA Next.
Thank you.
Yep. Students are not required to complete anything other than the demographics. If the kids are not interested in filling that out and they just want to put their college codes in, they just have to scroll down to the bottom of the page and hit next quite a few pages. But that's the only thing that's mandatory that won't let you move forward is the demographic information. And that's to make sure that we have the right information to send those, the score reports to students. I hope I answered that right. Okay, so students will need to complete the non-test info. There's the stuff, the answer let me say this again. The demographic information on the answer document can be done on the test day. You don't have to do that ahead of time like we did before. The A, B, C, D, E, F, G section, you can do that before you start your test. That's not a problem. Before you start the test, right? If you're doing paper pencil. And then the students have up to 2 days after the test date to complete their accounts in the MyACT to get those 4 free scores. I want to make sure I said that as well.
Okay, thank you, Iris.
Yeah, absolutely. You guys can come off mute if you want to ask me questions. Nicole, we're going to let you guys know when this recording is going to be on the NDE website, and you can share that presentation with anybody. I certainly will be glad to share my PowerPoint with anyone. I'm sure it'll be on the website, but if you want me to just email it to you, I can do that too.
Sounds great. Thank you.
Yeah, you betcha. Oh, my buddy Jay, what do you need? Okay, for a student who returned the ACT EOS consent form and marked no, is this process different than those who marked yes? Okay, that's a great question, Jay. So unfortunately, you will not have access to seeing whether they answer yes or no in the system. There's just no way for us to do that. However, if you get a student whose parent says no to the EOS or to the college codes, then you would just want to remind that student to answer no because your parents have said this. Do our best, our due diligence as we can. However, students are going to be students, and even if we did paper pencil, they would tend to answer that however they choose to, and we just have to do our best in this situation. Does that answer that question for you, Jay? Oh, good. Trudy asked me to clarify email address. So someone asked in the earlier recording if we suggest they use their school email or their personal email. It is my opinion, this is just my opinion, that you use their personal email, because if you use a school email and once they're out of school, they won't have access to that email address anymore. So it'd probably be benefit them to use their personal email address. If they don't have one and they don't have a way to create a new one, I get that. But if they want to have access to those scores later, or they want to move to another college, or they want to go on to graduate school and they want to use those ACT scores and they need to order reports, they'll have to have an email address that they can access readily. Thank you. Will the codes be included? So the codes, so when you get the non-test information, the documents from ACT, each student will get an individualized sheet, and it will have their individual name as it shows in PA Next. It will have their individual code. So that form that I showed you is a blank version of that. So it gives the instructions on how to create the account, or how to use the student code if they already have an account. But it will be pre-populated. Good deal. Is there any other questions? Yeah.
If I have a student who has taken the ACT previously, and they don't know whether they created an account at MyACT, because I'm seeing that, oh, I don't know if I did that.
Right. Well, that's an average teenage response. I don't know. So I would guess it depends on when they took the test. If they took the test before this fall, then they would not have created an account in MyACT because it didn't exist. So, but if they took one this fall, then they probably do. Does that make sense? Okay.
It does, thank you.
Good.
So I had 3 girls just register for that April 17th test. They want to take, even though they're taking the school-wide one. And they did not register through the MyACT, so they need to go back in.
How did they register?
They registered just like they normally do, I thought.
It was through the MyACT.
Okay. I didn't even notice that, but they said
that's what happened in the fall.
Okay.
See, Scott Calvert, keep me honest here. That's correct.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm sorry, folks. You said somebody was just registering for a recent national test event?
Right.
Yep.
Used MyACT, correct?
Okay. Yep, that should have been done through MyACT as well.
Thank you. Scott is my go-to. He's also on the Nebraska team, so he's a good guy.
So if they've already registered and filled out the demographic stuff on an ACT that they took in October or whatever, will they have to do that again for the state test? Nope, it's already on their account.
It will already be on their account unless they want to update it or they want to
Okay.
change different college codes, then they'll want to go in there and do
Okay.
that. Otherwise, Matt, they can just go in there and add their enter student code so that their state test results merge to that or are automatically sent to their account.
Okay, but so if whatever they register for the weekend test, that will slide right over to this one.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. Unless they want to update something,
Okay.
they got a better grade in English, 11 or whatever.
Or
Right?
changing where they're sending their scores to.
That's
Okay.
true too. Or
Thank
if they have a change of address or any of that information.
Okay.
So that's student code that we put in here. That's what's going to allow them to merge that those national tests and the state tests and do the super scoring and all that.
Well, we're not doing super scoring right now, but it will have all of those scores in one account.
Okay.
So that we can alleviate any separate, multiple accounts that we would have to merge at ACT on the backside of things. It's very manual and very labor intensive process and takes a while. So this is a way to alleviate that issue before it even starts, right? So
When does super scoring start then? When do you know?
I don't have a date.
Okay.
I don't believe so. So let me check on that and I will let you know. I'll write that down.
Any further questions for Iris?
You guys are awful quiet. It's late in the afternoon too, and you probably have had a long day, so I get it. But please don't hesitate to email me or give me a call if you do have questions.
I guess this is a quick question. We have some students that are not planning to go on to college. So when they take this test, they just leave, they don't have to do anything with the college code. It won't require them to put anything in there.
No, that's not mandatory by any means. No.
Yep, I didn't think so. I just wanted to make sure that it wasn't different with this. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you for your help. I gotta go.
So I'm checking the chat. I don't see anything new.
Yeah. Any further questions? Otherwise, really appreciate Iris and the work that she does for NDE. And I know that she's a wonderful resource for you folks. Do just appreciate everything that she does. So if you have any questions, please come off mute and ask. We want to make sure all your questions are answered.
Not really, other than thank you, Iris. We do appreciate it.
Thanks, Jerry. Thanks, guys. And if you have questions about other things that relate to ACT, I'd be glad to answer those as well.
just to echo everybody else, thank you, Iris. We appreciate all that you do there. We definitely need your help.
Thanks. I'm glad I can be here.
Thank you folks for coming.
Thanks all. Bye.